Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Iverson and this is my e-learning module. So my module is on social annotation. Specifically, I use the tool Hypothesis. So we start with a brief introduction on what to expect with this module, and to the right you have the three sections that are needing to be completed. So if we look at our first section, it's understanding the role and importance of social annotation. And when you open it, the first thing you're going to see is the learning objective. So when I started to create my e-learning module, the learning theories that followed more with what social annotation is and how it's utilized is where I put most of the focus. So what I used or referenced to was social constructivism and connectivism. Both of these learning theories are really deeply connected into and encourage collaboration within peers. And those two elements are vital pieces when using social annotation. And they are connected through the student interactive pieces of each section, and we'll get to them as I walk through this entire module. So the first page that you're going to come across is what is social annotation. And we start with a quote from Matthew Farber. He wrote an article on EduTopia of titled Social Annotation in the Digital Age, and I referenced that and read that a lot, specifically within this first section. So it starts off with what it is, which is this first section, and then we get into the actual tool of Hypothesis. So you'd have to download their browser extension, create a free account, and then connect with the social annotation Hypothesis group. Each section has checkpoints. So this is where my motivational element comes in, since a lot of learners are goal-oriented. The addition of progress tracking and checking completion boxes as the learners work through the module keeps them motivated. So each content page is provided with a tracking bar, which is right here. And it tracks all the way to however many tasks I have until completion. So once you've read it, you will complete it and your task bar moves up. And as you complete it, each one will move up. And if you realize you've accidentally checked something, you can simply uncheck it with no issues. I also made sure to use or utilize the text-to-speech feature that was offered with Easy Generator, which really tied in well with me using a UDL model in addition to the ADDIE model for my design framework. So for those that struggle with reading or have a hard time with the depth perception of looking at a computer screen for so long, each page has a text-to-speech feature that will start automatically upon opening the page, or you can pause and start later, adjust the volume, and play back. Of the second one, we get into pedagogy and the cognitive benefits of social annotation. So each section is chunked based on the main point of what should be understood within the reading. So that's why you'll see these readings are quite short and concise. So this first reading is specifically on the pedagogy. I wanted to make sure that with the multimedia choices such as segmenting came into play with making sure that the idea of what is being read stands front and center with each piece. So that happens with the pedagogy, another tracking point, and then again with cognitive. They are two separate sections, so I felt the need to separate them entirely so you can understand the brief importances of this section. Now we get into actually testing out how to use Hypothesis. So for some, this can be a very new tool. For others, it can be a refresher. So for me, it was a refresher. They're encouraged to follow the directions, such as downloading the extensions tool, joining in on the Hypothesis group, and then exploring. So this is a document that I had generated through ChatGPT. I wanted something easy to read and understand and not really have the focus be on the reading, but more on the learners exploring what Hypothesis is. So this is what your screen will look like. It may zoom in the reading once you turn your hypothesis extension on. And you have three boxes in the corner. This first one will open up all the annotations on the page. So right now there is only one. It was me explaining what to do, highlighting, and just exploring. This eye image, if you click it, it will remove all highlights from your page. So I had this part highlighted. When I clicked the eye, unhighlighted it. Just for viewing, it still remains there within the system. And then this last one is strictly going to add page notes or strictly show annotations within that article. And the last part of this first section was a multiple choice of how can we describe social annotation. This answer would come from the first reading and part of the second reading with the cognitive development. As we move into our second section, we're learning how to apply the social annotation techniques or techniques in general and how they assist with social annotation. So the first part of this reading is skills needed to be an effective social annotator. So it's not something as simply as understanding what you're reading and going through and highlighting. You have to be able to use critical thinking and have an insight and a depth of knowledge with what you're reading, even if the depth is being gained from the passage that you are reading. And then we move into the first section of guided annotations. So by having a guided annotation, I'm also working with the ADDIE model because it represents the form of assessment while maintaining the goal and achieving it. And I'm making sure that I'm leading them up to being able to independently annotate an article. So this second article is pre-annotated by me. There's only 3 or 4 of them, and it does have to do with annotation and using it in higher education. So this is something that I'm asking learners to take the time, read through it, and potentially answer the annotations I have added. One of them was strictly just a highlight, which is an option with this. If you find something important but you don't have a thought to give on it, highlighting it is also a form of annotation. So I posed 3 questions to go with this reading throughout it. The guided annotation aspect was to find something to annotate individually, as well as provide an answer to 1 or 2 of these guided notes that I have provided. Now we move into how it works with peer interactions and being able to collaborate. So that's what this middle section of reading is all about, and how it can encourage peers to interact with each other outside of what is mandated of them within their class. And then we move into a second guided reading, which also has to work with social annotation. This time it's focusing on a flipped organic chemistry course, meaning the independent piece is done within the classroom and the learning is done outside of the classroom, such as the lecture and the videos are done independently at home. And lastly, they have an independent annotation. So this is a web page that would open. I have it right here. On using social annotation to construct knowledge, and this is a case study specifically done within undergraduate courses. I did not provide any annotations, so this is strictly up to the learners to annotate, build discussions on, find different viewpoints, and see what they can generate themselves without the instructor's input. And then my final section, this is the third part where it gets into the final thoughts of this module. So what parts of the e-learning module did you enjoy? And this provides you the space to type your answer. The second question is, do you feel that you have a better understanding of what social annotation is after this module? And then our final question is, what was a valuable takeaway from this module? And I did not pass the course because I did not submit my answers for that third section. I've only submitted answers for the first one. However, it will show me the completed part. So right here, I've completed 0% because I haven't done anything. I've also have this set to where you have to complete each section before you move on to the next. You can't just submit, and hope that it's going to go. That is all I have. Thank you so much.